And then we will, I'm going to share my screen with you. So hopefully most of you know me, but I am Ann Meyer, the high school principal, and I am joined by Erin Kind, the director of counseling for the district. And we're here this evening to speak about sophomore course selection as you're entering your junior year. Just want to take a moment to say that this is the first year we're trying this format for the presentation. In the past few years, we have gathered our sophomores in the auditorium, gone over course selection with the curriculum leaders of each department, and then the guidance counselors have met with sophomores and their parents. This year, we decided to change the format a little bit and invite all of you to a Zoom meeting so that parents could join their children to hear this information. If you have any thoughts on whether this is a helpful format, when we are done with this meeting, Mr. Kind and I welcome any feedback. We're just trying to make this as useful for all of you and share as much information with you as possible to make informed decisions about course selection. So we're going to begin just an overview of how things are going to work this spring in relation to selecting courses for next year. So obviously this evening, Mr. Kind and I will be going over options for current sophomores as they go into their junior year. Following this meeting, and probably in March, each counselor will meet with their student and their student's parents to discuss the decisions about what courses each sophomore would like to sign up for next year. We would recommend you take a look at the course catalog website, which is also a link on our bronxvilleschool.org website under the high school. There's some additional information that's going to help you make informed choices. One is that we have brought back the writing sample for our advanced placement history courses. So all of the sophomores have had the opportunity to take, who are interested, have had the opportunity to take a writing sample for AP US history and should have received feedback from their current history teacher regarding how they did. That information should help inform whether AP history is a good choice. We also have teacher recommendations in Infinite Campus for most, if not all, of the courses you may be interested in signing up for, and we highly recommend you take a look at those recommendations because your teacher has thought carefully about what courses they feel you're best prepared for next year in each of the disciplines. And in your meeting with your counselor, obviously, like last year, you will select courses. The master schedule, I actually build the master schedule and I do that in May. So the master schedule is built on requests. So the most accurate requests are going to provide you the best chance of getting into the courses you would like. So by early May, you definitely want to finalize anything that you're still thinking about, finalize it with your guidance counselor. And then in mid-June, we have the guidance counselors reach out to any students who may have conflicted out of a course due to the way the master schedule is built, so that you know what courses you will be scheduled for in the fall and you go off to your summer knowing what summer work to complete. So that's the overview of the spring for all of our sophomores. So as you're thinking about your courses, for next year, we have some recommendations for how to frame your thinking and maybe your discussions as a family. So there's some short-term things that you should consider. One of the things is, how are you doing in your current courses, or how is your child doing in their current courses? How is this year going in each of those courses? You can think individually by course, and also sort of overall, are science and math courses easier? Are you doing better in those, or humanities courses, or the performing arts or arts? And overall, this is very, very important. How did the load of courses work for you this year? Did you feel you could manage the workload? Sophomore year is very different from freshman year. We hear from a lot of students that the workload increases significantly and the rigor of the work increases significantly. Are you getting enough sleep? Are you able to hang out with your friends once in a while? Are you feeling you can be successful in these courses? That is going to give you a lot of information to consider as you think about what courses you want to sign up for next year. One personal note is that I currently have a sophomore in high school. I also have an 8th grader. And so my sophomore is thinking about what she's going to take next year. And I'm thinking about how have things gone this year for her? What is she finding easy? What is she finding hard? Does she have enough time for her homework? Is she getting enough sleep? Is she able, my daughter's a dancer and she does performing arts. Is she able to do the things she loves and still manage her courses? These are things you want to consider as you think about what you're going to choose for next year. And then longer term, when you think about course options, there are certain courses that you may need to take next year in order to take, say, another course senior year. Or, so for instance, if your child or you are very interested in AP art, then you need to continue in the art trajectory next year. And there are other courses like that that you're going to want to think about. Obviously, math is a progression, language is a progression. And like I said, the art courses are. And then there are certain courses that are offered every other year that you're going to want to think about. So for instance, next year we're offering 2 new electives in science. They're semester electives, oceans and anatomy and physiology. And the following year we'll be offering environmental science. So, if you want to take environmental science, you're going to have to wait till senior year. Some courses, we're going to talk about this in a moment. Thinking about next year and your senior year, what courses do you think you're going to be able to manage well your senior year alongside the college application process? It may be worth saving some of those till senior year. We're going to answer questions at the end of this as well. So let's see, here we go. So I just mentioned these and the other thing I'll mention around this slide is balance, which is to say that you're going to want to consider how the courses you're taking, what kind of workload they have. So there are certain reading and writing heavy courses, and there are certain courses you might not realize or think about are reading and content heavy. One is AP Bio. AP Bio is a content heavy course. When you pair AP Bio with AP US or AP English Language, you have to be someone who can manage a lot of reading and a lot of content. We recommend you pair some of those reading and content heavy courses with more of the math problem set courses. And then be careful not to have too many of the math problem set courses. And I'm going to list those. So you have your math course. AP Physics is very similar. If you have your math course, AP Chem is going to be very similar, or AP Stats. So just be very careful if you are not particularly interested or strong in those kind of problem set type things. You don't want to overload on those courses. So there's a number of things you're going to want to think about. We're going to get to the specific courses in a moment. You're going to want to think about how difficult the courses are that you're choosing, and you're going to want to balance that. You want to look at what you're taking this year, and you want to increase, if you're doing well, increase the rigor, but don't make a huge jump. You want to make it a step-by-step process where you can be successful. You want to think about how are you doing in your current courses. If you're struggling in certain things, don't increase the rigor in those things. Think about, have you been able to manage your courses? Do you know how to study? How'd you do on midterms? What's your overall workload? And we have a time management sheet here that you can fill out to think about, will you have enough hours in the day to get your work done? And the way you're going to figure that out is using this homework by department sheet that is linked here. to sort of to think about, okay, this course is going to have this many hours of homework on average. This course is going to have this many. When I add them all up, am I adding more than 24 hours in a day? We don't want to have more work than hours in the day. You're also going to want to think about what else do you do? Are you on an athletic team? Are you in performing arts? Are you doing a club sport? Those things are going to take time away from your time to do homework. And Mr. Kind and I want to reinforce that students should be getting 8 hours of sleep minimum a night. I know when we say this to students, sometimes they laugh, but that is real. And you're going to want to make decisions based on that. What will allow you to get sufficient sleep, which is going to impact this final bar here, which is your health and your well-being, which is key, very, very important. And I'm just going to tell you a little anecdote right now. Like I said, my daughter is a sophomore, and she's choosing between a number of different options at her high school. And I keep saying to her, you love to dance. You love your friends that dance. It's one of the things that gives you joy. You need to make sure you have time for that, because that is going to increase your health and well-being. And so we are making choices. She's not necessarily taking the highest level course of certain areas that were recommended for her, because she knows it's going to be more work and she wants to have time to dance and be with her friends. I recommend that families think about that and make the decision that you think is best for your child with that in mind. Let's see. So I think in general, Aaron, are you taking over right here?
Yeah, I think that was the plan.
Beautiful.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. It's so nice to see so many names and so many people on the call. So before I dig in, I thought it might be important to stop for a moment and just mention everybody needs to be in 5 core courses, 5 full-year courses or 5 credits, not including gym. Gym's a half credit. So everybody wants to have 5.5 classes each year. And generally speaking, English, history, math, science, language kind of gets you there right away. But that's not the path for everybody. So we're going to talk through that a little bit in a moment. But just think of 5 core classes. So Anne's been sort of setting the groundwork for what's available to you. What's pretty easy to choose from is going to be your math, language, and if you're in a studio art or performing arts course, because that's just going to be the next level of that class. About the world language, I would say it's about close to half of any graduating class is still in a world language class by senior year. It doesn't necessarily mean advanced placement, but I'd say about half the class is taking most likely 4 years of a language. Not to make this about college, but colleges like to see, rigor, which we've talked about, but also consistency. So whether that's consistency in the arts, consistency in chorus, consistency in language, they like to see consistency. And then obviously, there's a whole other slew of factors that is for appropriate for another call. So I would say if you choose to take a language class as a junior, my suggestion is also to be prepared to take a language class as a senior. The seniors, or for that matter, the juniors that don't take language classes, tend to take another history class or another math class, maybe another science class. They tend to just double up in another area. And we, on the next slide, pretty much have everything that's available to you all in one convenient place. In English and history, you're going to have advanced placement options. As Anne mentioned, just a few weeks ago, we had the sophomores that were interested in taking advanced placement US history sit for a writing sample, just to give you a sense of what is going to be expected of you, and make sure that this is something that you're interested in pursuing. The other thing I want to mention, just as taking a step back, is it's really about quality. This isn't, a lot of times students sit down in their counselor's office and say, I have to take X amount of AP classes. I don't love that because we're not really looking for a number here. You should really be thinking about what are you interested in? What are you curious about? What do you do well in? What have you enjoyed over the past 2 years? And operating from sort of like your internal interest versus a total number of advanced placement classes. Because what can happen and does happen for some students is you decide to take whatever the number is. Maybe it works out junior year, maybe it doesn't, but you put yourself in this situation where you have to kind of build on that in senior year, and you can get to a place where you've taken on too much, whether it's academically or outside of school, and everything kind of comes to a screeching halt. And obviously we're here to help and we're here to problem solve, but we want to sort of prevent that from happening if possible. So you really want to choose wisely for junior year because it is a little bit of a bridge to senior year. So in the science department, everybody's going to be required to take a science class. For those of you that are finishing the course sequence, if you see on your Infinite Campus, there's going to be a recommendation either for you to take a level 2 class. There's not going to be a specific level 2, but the teacher will recommend that you'd be best suited for a level 2, or that you'd be best suited for an AP course. You can see the AP courses in front of you. For level 2, we have biology, earth science, and we will try to run Chem 2 if there are enough students that sign up. Historically, that hasn't been the case, so that class doesn't run very often. But Bio 2, Earth Science 2, and Chem 2. For most of you, junior year will be the year that you take your science regents. So you do need to take a course that ends in a regents as a junior, if you haven't already done so. You also have the option of taking Bronx River Research in addition to a level 2 science course or an AP science class. Because again, you do need to take a science class that ends in a Regents, or if you happen to be in AP Chem, or you took living environment as a 9th grader, you can take Bronx River Research as a junior. And then as Ann mentioned, our 2 new courses, which are both a semester long, which we're quite excited about. A semester of oceans, and then a semester of anatomy and physiology. And then down below, I will make mention of a few things. I'm not going to read through all of the electives, but you can see what's available to you. As a junior, pretty much every elective is available to you. AP Statistics does have a prerequisite attached to it, which is in the course guide. You need to either have done Algebra 2 pre-calc or be co-enrolled in pre-calculus honors. And then below that, all the semester electives are pretty much open enrollment, just if you're curious or interested. I do want to just say one quick thing about the AP courses and versus some of the, whether it's year-long course like the research seminar in educational equity or some of the semester courses. The College Board sets the AP curriculum, and the operating premise is, it's standardized. The AP Bio class in Bronxville is the same as the AP Bio class in Eastchester, is the same as the AP Bio class in Texas, in California, etc. So colleges know what that curriculum is. It's quite prescribed. Teachers have to get through it to prepare you for the test. It's challenging, it's interesting, it's exciting. But it doesn't leave a lot of time for exploration outside of, the syllabus. Some of the semester-long electives, the research seminar in educational equity, lead you down paths that, we couldn't begin to talk about, because you never know where you're going to get to in some of those discussions in those classes or some of the readings. And I think some students have really discovered some interest that they might not have already had by taking a course like robotics or mythology or philosophy or the research seminar course. And it can kind of lead into these really interesting areas, which maybe lead into something outside of school or something over the summer. And so it kind of lets your curiosity wander a little bit more. And I think, again, for another call at a later date, students that are able to pull at that thread that's not as prescribed as AP Bio or AP Chem, and not that there's anything wrong with these classes, but those students tend to find some interesting things out about themselves, find interesting things about the world around them, and sometimes or can lead to some interesting applicants when it comes to college. So I just leave that with you to just think beyond the advanced placement title. Think about what you're interested in, think about what speaks to you, and again, choose courses from that sort of starting point, not I need X amount of advanced placement classes. I think we can move on. This is just something that we put together that basically shows everything again. We will send this out with our invitation letter with your appointment date and time, which you should get potentially tomorrow, but definitely by Thursday. We'll send a link to this document along with this recording, just so you have all of this. We just put this together just so everything was in one place. For your course selection meeting, obviously parents are welcome to attend. If your child has a 504 or an IEP, which means they have an annual review, your child's counselor will be at that meeting. We're going to start that conversation during that meeting. So you'll see your appointment date and time is going to be the same appointment date and time as your annual review. And then this is kind of the crux of where we might find ourselves getting into trouble. We definitely, you all definitely want, and it is somewhat expected that, 10th grade was a little bit harder than 9th grade, 11th grade is a little bit harder than 10th, and senior year should be the most rigorous courses that you take. So you do want to build rigor over the 4 years. You just don't want to like overwhelm yourself with that rigor. And so for some students, that's going to mean going from Regents level to honors level. For some students, maybe it's just going to be more honors level classes. And then for some students, obviously, it's going to be more advanced placement classes. But everybody needs to make choices that like suits them. You got to do this a little bit with some blinders on and not get swept up in this friend's doing that and this friend's taking this. What works for you is going to work for you, and what works for them is something else potentially. And so you just don't want to bite off more than you can chew. You obviously will get a sense of what any summer work looks like, or any sort of day-to-day work looks like for advanced placement courses through summer work. And you'll have some time to unenroll yourself from advanced placement classes. But nonetheless, you want to be wise about these choices. You want to select quality over quantity. And then again, and your child's counselor will speak to you all about this when you have your meeting. You don't want to put yourself in a position where you take on so much junior year that senior year you have to do even more. So you definitely want to strategically sort of plan out, when am I going to do X amount of honors classes, advanced placement classes, maybe some elective classes that we spoke about on the previous slide. You want to think about it as a 2-year decision versus, next year in isolation.
And I just wanted to add that as you consider increasing the rigor, which Mr. Kind referred to, you don't want to go from no APs to 3. We need to step this up. It is a significant change to go from honors level courses to AP courses, even 1. Now, we have open enrollment in AP courses that, which we believe in, and a lot of our students end up before graduating having at least 1. And we believe in that because it gives them a good experience before going to college with that level of workload, rigor, etc. But you need to be mindful that you want to be able to handle the change from sophomore year to junior year. It will be harder and it needs to be manageable. And the other thing to keep in mind is many students, not all, but many will be also preparing for standardized tests like the ACT or the SAT. And that is a workload. And so you want to be successful as much as possible in what you do, and listen to your counselor. They have seen many students go through this process. They can tell you what makes sense, and you need to listen to what they're sharing with you in terms of their own expertise. They're going to tell you about next year, and they're going to preview senior year because they're all linked together. And what we're trying to do is set you up for success. And as I try to mention over and over to all of you and to my own child, high school, you're a teenager. You need time to be a teenager. It is not just about school. It is about enjoying yourself. It is about discovering yourself. It is about enjoying time with your friends and doing things that you enjoy doing. So it's not just about school. Leave time for other things. Leave time to enjoy your teenage years. So next year, all of our juniors will be enrolled in Health 11. All of you have taken Health 9. This is the other half of that course. It's a graduation requirement. You'll be revisiting some of the topics that were covered last year in Health 9, but in a more mature way that will prepare you for college. So we're really focused in the Health 11 class in thinking about college, health, and wellness. When you are on your own, how will you manage things like nutrition, sleep, social media, access to your phone, alcohol and drugs, things on a college campus like consent? These are all things that we want to make sure you're aware of, you're prepared for, you think about, and they're going to be covered in Health 11. The difference in Health 11 is we're really going to focus on discussions led by students around these topics. So it's going to be a little less teacher-led, although they will be there facilitating these. And but students will be helping to generate the questions they want to explore around these topics, again, focused on health and wellness at college. So that will meet twice per cycle for 40 minutes each time, similar to Health 9. And what will also be included in that, if you remember last year, freshman transition pushed into Health 9. Junior year, the junior workshop will push into Health 11. So Mr. Kind is going to explain what will be covered in the junior workshop. And just as an overview, it's all about preparation for the college process, making sure you understand what the plan is, getting you set to go. So Mr. Kind, why don't you just
Yeah.
share some of the
Yeah,
specifics?
so first I just want to say I'm really excited about this, and I think the juniors will be too, because currently the junior workshops happen when our current juniors had some free time, so we've taken up some of their free time to have these meetings. So I'm happy that there's a dedicated space that doesn't pull you out of bed or bring you back from an extended lunch period or what have you. So this is, I believe, we're going into the fourth year of doing junior workshops. And it's been an amazing space for counselors to meet in small groups with students to cover sort of like the nuts and bolts of like researching, reflecting on what your interests are, introducing students to some of the software that we have at their disposal, covering, application preparation. There's some work in junior English classes around the essay, but I think maybe next year we might sort of take over some of that into the junior workshop. So we'll have some essay discussions, start drafting those essays. It's going to be an amazing time for the counselors to get even more FaceTime with the juniors in small groups, and really, as it is currently and definitely will be next year, an opportunity to like have students leave the summer before senior year with, 6 to 10 colleges they want to apply to, with a great understanding of what those essay supplements are that they need to write, with maybe like a start of a rough draft or a like near finalized draft of a college essay. They've spoken to all their teachers about recommendation letters. They've done whatever's needed to do on the back end to tie that all up, and really just leave students feeling good about the summer before senior year. Because if you have any friends with seniors, or for the students on the call that have friends that are seniors, you really hit the ground running senior year. So we want to make sure the students, the outgoing juniors, are in a really good space before that summer. So we're really excited about continuing to grow this program. And this is just one of many sort of programs and opportunities to talk about college throughout junior year that you'll experience as parents.
So that concludes the information that we have to share with you about course selection, what to expect next year, what to consider this year as you're thinking about, as you as a student or you and your child as a parent are thinking about what are some good ways to approach this process before you meet with your guidance counselor, or formulating some questions for them specifically about your situation. We just wanted to give you an overview, give you a sense of what we've seen, what we recommend you think carefully about, specific options, and then, of course, how the junior workshops are going to help next year prepare students for their senior year. So at this point, our content is done and we are happy to answer questions, which you can put in the chat, or you're welcome to unmute yourself and ask a question. Again, you're also welcome at any point to email either of us. We're always available via email. We could get on a call. And also, if you have something specific to your child, probably wait till you meet with your guidance counselor or email them individually. But happy to open it up right now. Or we answered everything that you could imagine asking. Sometimes this feels a little early because we just finished first semester, but we are signing students up. I think our current juniors are already in their meetings with their guidance counselors about next year. So if you don't have any questions, or you want to wait till you meet with your guidance counselor, you're welcome to leave. And hopefully this was helpful. If there's anything that we're missing from this presentation that you would wish we would have covered, or if you have any feedback on it, please let us know. But we're happy to stay on for a few minutes to see if anyone has any specific questions. Thank you. The teacher recommendations should already be in Infinite Campus. Yes, they should be there.
But again, I don't know if this everybody saw my comment. I believe only the students can view those recommendations, like from their account. So you need to your child or the student needs to sign in.
Is computer science principles and prerequisites for AP Computer Science A? AP Computer Science A is scheduled to run next year. That's a Java-based programming course. AP Computer Science Principles is not a prerequisite for that course. AP Computer Science A is an intense programming course, more intense in terms of programming than AP Computer Science Principles. So we often recommend that students have some programming experience going into it, or have taken Intro to Java, which is a semester elective. But if you haven't, I believe there is in the summer assignment, there is some supplemental work. And Aaron, can you just get the link to the course catalog?
Yeah, I'm doing that now. Yeah.
Great. It's on our high school website. And that course catalog, there's a document there, but there's also videos about the courses. And the course recommendations for next year are going to be in your child when they log into Infinite Campus. They're going to show up for them. So that's where you're going to find those. Have your child log into their Infinite Campus login. And Mr. Kind just put the link to the course catalog. Any other questions? Okay, well, listen, we are always available. We thank you all for joining us. We hope this is helpful. And of course, You know, if anything comes up, if you think of something after the fact, please reach out. Otherwise, have a good evening. Thanks, everyone.